The next question comes from Mike Dennison and goes to Mr. Roots.
Good afternoon, Mr. Roots. One of your candidates here, fellow candidates here, has questioned whether you should even be here today or at future debates because of racist views that you've written or disseminated in the past. What do you think of that stance, and what are voters to think of your prior race-related writings and comments?
Well, let me just say that it is true. I used to call myself a right-winger. I used to be a racist. I used to subscribe to such opinions in my teens and 20s. I am a high school dropout. I hitchhiked across the country 5 times before I was 20 years old. I've educated myself over the years. I now have a PhD in sociology. I actually teach race relations at the college level. I teach race relations at the college level at a historically black college. I have a law degree. I have a master's degree. I believe I'm probably the most educated person. I'm a high school dropout, ironically. In this auditorium, if anyone has more advanced degrees than I have, I'd love to meet you. I rarely meet anyone with 3 advanced degrees. The point is, listen, I've written many letters of recommendation for my African-American students. I do all I can for people of all races and colors and things. It is these parties, by the way, it is these 2 parties that promote this redistribution philosophy, which is very similar to the philosophy of the hate groups. It's the same exact philosophy, taking resources from Group A and giving them to Group B. The Ku Klux Klan, the Democratic Party, they do the same thing. The only thing that differs is who Group A and Group B is.
Senator Walsh, your answer?
Well, I honestly believe that all the candidates who are going to appear on the ballot should have the opportunity to present their views. You know, these are important times. We have an election coming up in November, and the citizens of Montana are going to have the opportunity to vote on who their next United States Senator will be. And so these debates provide that opportunity for the candidates to express their views, and so I believe that it's appropriate for all the candidates to appear at these debates. But what is really important right now is that we talk about what's wrong with Washington, D.C. You know, Washington has a spending problem. We've been talking about it for the past couple of questions. But we really do have a spending problem. And how are we going to solve these spending problems? You know, Congressman Daines wants to do it on the backs of our most vulnerable citizens. He wants to privatize Medicare. He wants to continue to give tax breaks to corporations to send jobs overseas. We want to create jobs here in Montana. We want to create jobs here in America. That's what's important, because if we are able to create jobs here in the state of Montana, that's what's going to get our economy moving and continue to keep it moving forward. Small businesses will continue to grow. Montanans will have more money in their pockets to spend in those businesses. That's what's going to create jobs in this country. That's what's going to create revenue, and that's what's going to keep this country moving forward.
Mr. Roots, do you have a response?
I don't really have a response to what he just said. No, thank you.
Oh, excuse me, Congressman Daines, I apologize.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Well, we need to stay focused today on the most important issues facing our country. We need more jobs. We need less government. As I travel all across this state, I find that our 3 greatest exports are our cattle, our grain, and our children. Yet our children are probably our greatest natural resource. We need to create more opportunities so Cindy and I, as parents of 4 children, that our kids will find opportunities they can stay here. The best compliment I ever had working for Right Now Technologies in Bozeman, after we created hundreds of jobs there, they were Montana kids working in Bozeman, is when a grandmother said, "I'm grateful that I don't have to travel to New York or Florida or California to see my grandkids. I can come to Bozeman." And that's what we need to do. And we will do that by reining in the size of government. Traveling across the state, everywhere I hear about the overreach of the federal government, the expanding regulations. And it's time that we put an end to this overreach of this president, these federal bureaucracies that are creating great uncertainty for men and women in Montana who are fighting hard every day to grow their business. They want to have D.C. stay out of their lives and let us in Montana here run our lives and grow our businesses and raise our families.
And now, Mr. Roots, you can have a response.
Back to the topic of racism and white supremacy and such things. You don't have to travel very far in Montana to find to find out what a white supremacist government might look like. Just go to one of the federal courthouses here in the state of Montana. After you go through the East Berlin checkpoints, you can sit in the audience during a day when they're processing criminal cases and look at the criminal defendants in that federal courthouse. Remember, Montana is, what, 90% white? Not so among the federal defendants that you'll see in federal court in Montana. Disproportionately Native American, probably 50%, 60% Native American. Of course, there's a lot of federal jurisdiction on those reservations. It's also disproportionately black and Hispanic. You can sit and you'll watch these strings of Native Americans come in chains, and they all, they're not even allowed to shower except before trial, which never happens. Trials never occur. Everybody has to plead guilty. It's just a spectacle of humiliation of the American people that these parties love to participate in.
Senator Walsh, your response?
This past week we had a wonderful opportunity to keep our greatest natural resource here in the state of Montana. That is, our young men and women who are graduating from colleges. Today, they are graduating from college with somewhere around an average of $27,000 in debt. The Senate put up legislation to reduce the interest rate that was being charged on those student loans from about 8% down to 4% and lower. But that bill was blocked because it would have taken away tax loopholes from millionaires like Congressman Daines and his friends and those large businesses who send jobs overseas. We talk about wanting to keep our greatest natural resource here in Montana and in other states, but then when we have an opportunity to do it, we don't take that appropriate action in Washington, D.C. So again, Washington has to quit making everything political and get to work.
Congressman Daines, your response?
I'm the only job creator standing on the stage today running for the United States Senate. I've been out there working hard to create those opportunities and seeing that success so that more Montana kids could stay here and not have to leave our great state. And I'm grateful for that track record and hope we can continue to grow more businesses here in Montana so that our kids, these wonderful resources we have, can be educated in Montana and choose to stay here because there are career opportunities for them to not only stay here but grow their families and have a career.